Hey guys, it's Serene Grace here. I was voted the best LC player on Smogon, and now I'm here to teach you how to build an LC. And for those of you who don't know, LC Open is starting next week and signups are still up. So I've linked the signups in the description, and I highly recommend that you sign up for the tournament because LC Open is one of LC's biggest tournaments, and if you watch this video and you learn how to team build, you really have a good chance of doing well in the tournament, even if you've never played LC before. Because once you have the fundamentals down, you'll do just fine in the actual tournament. So all you need to do is go to the LC Open signups and type in the thread, and then you'll be signed up for the LC Open. So back to the actual video of how to build an LC. Before you actually start team building, you'll need to understand the metagame first. So to do that, we go to the Viability Rankings. And just to know what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, you need to look at the Viability Rankings and get a grasp of what's going on. So if you notice that Vullaby is S rank right now, it's the best Pokemon in the tier, and you'll see it on maybe 70 to 80% of teams. So that's the number one thing you need to be prepared for. It has knockoff, Brave Bird, U-turn. It can use Nasty Plot with the Air Slash. So Vullaby is the number one thing you have to be prepared for. And then after that, if you notice, Mianfu and Timber. Mianfu and Timber are staples on an LC team because of their offensive power, their good typing. So you won't see both usually, you'll see one or the other. So you might see a Mianfu or you might see a Timber, but most of the time you will see one of them on a team. So you have to prepare for Vullaby and you have to prepare for fighting types. Those are the two main things you have to prepare for. And then after that, if you notice Diglett in A+, and then Trapinch in A, Arena Trap is not banned in LC. So that makes those two really, really powerful threats because they can just trap your defensive core. So you need to be really careful about Arena Trap. So Vullaby, fighting types, Arena Trap. And then you have Grookey, which has grassy terrain. It's one of the biggest offensive threats in the game. Then you have Ferroseed, which is good for spiking. It's really bulky, so that's nice too. Then you have Onix and Poniard, which are flying resist, and they put up Stealth Rock, so that's a good thing. So S and A+ really dominate the metagame, and then when you go to A, you see things like Fungus and Coughing and Marini, and you usually see one of them on a team because you need a poison type to check Mianfu, and you need a poison type to check Timber. So you'll usually see one of those three on every single team. And then as you move down the rankings, you'll see different things. So for example, a Staryu is the only good rapid spinner. So if you need a rapid spin user, go with Staryu. Porygon is a nice offensive threat with, a download so it can boost its special attack. Then you have Abra, which is a good glass cannon. Scraggy, which is a Dragon Dance sweeper. Dewpider, which can use sticky webs. Vulpix, it's a good choice scarf. Like basically as you go down, you'll find things that are still useful, but they're not metagame defining like a Vullaby or a Mianfu. So when you're building, you can use these Pokemon. There's nothing wrong with it, but you have to understand that it's not really representative of what the meta is like. So once you have an idea of the basic idea of what the meta looks like, Mianfu, Vullaby, Arena Trap, Grookey, Poison types, once you have that idea, then you can move on to the actual team building part of the process. So yeah, let's start building an LC team. So there's basically 3 steps to building an LC team. So step 1 is starting with the core that you want to build around. So there's a lot of viable Pokemon that you can use, so just look through the builder, see if there's anything interesting that you want to use. For this video, I'll start with one of my favorite Pokemon, which is Vulpix. And what I really like about Vulpix is that it has a choice, with a Choice Scarf and with Drought, it becomes really strong in the sun. So I have a lot of powerful attacks like Weather Ball in the sun. I have good coverage moves like Energy Ball. So I'm going to start off with the Choice Scarf Vulpix. And then once I've started with something I want to build with, then I look for a logical partner to it. So I look at the Viability Rankings and I see that, Vulpix kind of loses to Marini, right? So how do I deal with that? And the obvious thing that comes to mind is Diglett, because Diglett can trap Marini. So I start with a Diglett and I give it a life orb. Any item can do, but just for now I'm giving it a life orb. So then I give it Arena Trap, an Earthquake, and now I've basically made my core. So that's step one. It's really easy. You just pick what you want to work with. And in this case, I want to work with Vulpix and Diglett. And now the most important step two is about building the foundation of the team. So when building a team, there are a few things you really want, and that's Vullaby, a fighting type, flying resists, and then fighting resist. You want one of these on your team, usually. And this is not the only way to build a team. In fact, there are many other ways to build a team. But this is the easiest way to build a team, and it's a way of building a team that I use for most of my teams, and it's really effective at making sure that your team, at the very least, is a good team because of how many different styles it can cover and how many different Pokemon it can check. So the first thing you want to do is you want to add a Vullaby to the team because it's just that good. And the main set that Vullaby runs is a sort of offensive Brave Bird set, and it has everything you could want. It has knockoff, a pivot move like U-turn, hazard removal, and a strong move in Brave Bird. So this is usually what you want to add to every team. And there are some options. You can use Endure, Heat Wave, Tailwind, many options based on the team. And if you don't want to use a physical set, you can also use a special set. So you can use a set with Nasty Plot, Air Slash, Heat Wave, Dark Pulse. One of these two should be on every team, and most cases this is the set you want to use, so I'll start with that. So Vullaby, it's part of your foundation. It gives you a defogger. So you have a defogger on your team now, and you have something that's really good. It's really powerful, good defenses, everything. Now after you add a Vullaby to your team, you usually want to add a fighting type to the team, and the reason for that is because not that fighting is, really that great. The reason you want to do it is because of the Pokemon themselves. Mianfu has really good stats all around the board. It has Regenerator, Knockoff, U-turn, High Jump Kick. It's just really good in general. And then you also have Timber, which has also good stats. High Attack stat, Iron Fist, Ice Punch. Lots of good moves like Mach Punch and Knockoff, Drain Punch. So typically on a team, you're going to have to want one of these on your team. And I really love Mianfu because I like the ability of Regenerator U-turn. It allows you to pivot a lot, it's good for momentum, and so I typically add a Mianfu to all of my teams. And not all of my teams, but most of them. And sometimes Timber has its applications, but for the most part, I add a Mianfu first, and then I start thinking, is Timber good? I can change it, but at least let me start with the Mianfu. And this Mianfu, again, it's part of the structure. Because it's so good offensively and defensively, you don't really lose anything by using a Mianfu. So it should really be on all of your teams, alongside Vullaby. And then next, after Mianfu, you need a Flying Resist. So you need one of these on your team, because Vullaby is that good. You need something that can deal with Vullaby. So you should basically choose between either Onix or Ponyard, and then Omanite is more of an unexpected one that I wouldn't recommend, but it's an option you have. So the main idea with Onix is that it beats every single Vullaby, because it doesn't have to worry about Nasty Plot, it doesn't have to worry about physical, it beats all of them. So Onix is a much more guaranteed check to Vullaby, and usually that's the right choice. But sometimes you want to use Ponyard, and the advantage of Ponyard is that it has moves like Knockoff and Sucker Punch, which are really valuable in LC, because Knockoff can remove an item, Sucker Punch is priority. But the issue with Ponyard is that it loses to Nasty Plot Vullaby, so you can't use it on a team where Ponyard is your only Vullaby check. You'll have to have some other Vullaby checks on the team to use Ponyard. So for that reason, let's just start off with an Onix. And by the way, there are two Onix sets you can use. One is Weak Armor. So if you attack Onix, its speed gets doubled. And the other is a Sweeper type set with Head Smash and Dragon Dance. This is more when you want to also be a Vullaby check, but you also want to try sweeping. Then you can use the second one. But the first one is more common, so I'll stick with that. And then this, again, it's part of the foundation. You've added a Stealth Rock user, you've added the Vullaby check. So you're looking really good right now. And then finally, to finish the team, you have to add a fighting resist. So the 3 main fighting resists are Fungus, Marini, and Coughing. And then Spritzy is not something I recommend, but it is an option. And each one of these fighting types is up to your personal preference and on the team you're using, because each poison type gives you a different skill set. So Fungus has Spore, Marini is a water type and has different moves like Knock Off. It has different moves like Toxic Spikes. It has a lot more utility. And Coughing is a lot more offensive, and it has Neutralizing Gas, which is a really valuable ability. So you have 2 defensive Pokemon and 1 offensive Pokemon that you can try and use. And if you don't like any of these for whatever reason, you can try using Spritzy, either a Nasty Plot set, or you can try using a Wish Protect set with Moonblast and maybe Calm Mind. So these are your 4 options really. So I like Fungus, so I'll pick that. And now you've basically made a good LC team. So step 2 is done. You've added the foundation to the team, and you have a functioning 6 Pokemon. You have your core, and then you have your foundation. And if you've noticed, one thing about the foundation is that you've covered everything you need to cover. You have a Stealth Rocker, you have a Defogger, you have Momentum, you check the important threats, and you have offensive power too. It's a really well-rounded team. And now we move on to step 3. And step 3 is where you look at your team and you start thinking, is there anything in particular that I lose to? Anything that I can refine? So how do I make this team go from a good team to a great team? And that's what you do in step 3. So if I look at this team and I'm starting to think, what am I weak to? And maybe I can change some sets around. Maybe I can change moves, That's what you have to really look at in your step 3 of the whole procedure. So you have to look around and see that, okay, maybe instead of Onix, I want a Ponyard, or maybe instead of Fungus, I want Marini. And step 3 is something that you do through testing, because just looking at a team, you can't really say, okay, I'm really bad with something. At least I can't anyway. So I like to play test games and figure out, okay, let me improvise. So just like that, we've built our first LC team. It's a pretty good team, and it can be made better by adding some improvisations. But that's the basic idea of how I build an LC team. And it's a 3-step process. You start with your core, then you add your foundation, and then you revise the team to make sure it is a great team. So that's it. And if you like these type of videos where I analyze or I explain my team building process, if you like these videos, leave a comment down below. I'll have a better idea of, what do people want to see. And as always, if you've liked the video, please like it, drop a like, and subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.